This week I learned marketing matters, you guys, but hey, we can all learn from our mistakes, right? So until next time. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update as July is quickly winding down here. Another month just zipped right by. Time is just moving way too fast. At least I do think so. But we're going to get into it, guys, like always, about what the week was, what the week will be, all those things in between. Begin like what usual, talking about what am I reading. I did finish The Butcher's Masquerade, 5 books deep into the dungeon now. And I'm happy to say this is, without question, my second favorite book in the series. I still love book number 1 the best. For me, guys, it's hard. Book 1s were usually my favorite. I'm not only that way. Most people, it's usually much further down the line. For me, it's like you never forget your first love. It's like when you fall in love with characters, you always are going to fall back on that. That's still the book that I felt like balanced the best between the humor and the serious moments that the series has. This is the first time I feel like it's done that again. It's done it quite well. So finally, it has some of the emotional depth that I've been kind of wanting in the series. I've accepted it's never going to give me everything that I want. That's just the genre. That's not the series. That's just the genre. But it's still fun, and I feel like that the stakes matter now, and that was something I felt like the last couple books have kind of gotten away from. And not everyone's safe. I mean, obviously, you're dealing with a premise like this. There's going to be death everywhere, and I think that it's important for them to show that, hey, yeah, this is fun, this is over the top, this is ridiculous, a little zany sometimes, but bad things can still happen, and I appreciate that. For me, the Carl and Donut scenes, they're still the best by leaps and bounds in this book. I love their moments. Obviously, seeing that Donut has some fears, them confronting someone from their past was very, very good. It was one of my favorite scenes in the entire book. Something I knew since book 1 was coming, but it was still very good when it did happen. And I like that Donut no longer just feels like the witty little sidekick. You know, she feels almost like a co-partner now. You know, she does very much seem like a real character. And I appreciate that more than I thought I would, because I did like it when she was just, always there to knock Carl off his perch a little bit. But that would have got tired over the course of the series. So I like the progress that character's shown. But I feel like the pacing for a book this monstrous is actually quite good. I was actually surprised that such a long book moved as quickly as it did. That's again because most of it is action. Let's be real. There is a lot of action, and a lot of those fights are just completely crazy and stuff. And I love the AI sequences, like the narration. They got like the new achievement stuff that chases a lot of people off. I mean, that's the most fun I have in the book, really. There's just so many good references in there that stuff that's really, you could tell that me and Matt Denneman are probably close to the same age, because there's a lot of the kind of stuff that I would have talked about, I think. And finding a way to write that geekdom into the book is it's target demo right here, and he got it, I think. But again, I think that this book did what I wanted it to do. Gave me a little bit more of the character background. It gave me those serious moments to co-enact those fun moments. And again, this was the most that I laughed in any DCC book since the first book, and I do think that is important. But there isn't all good things here. There are some things that maybe weren't the best for me. Maybe it was the year layover. To be honest, it did take almost a year break between these books, between book 4 and 5. Lots of names I didn't remember, like a lot. And at first, you can kind of feel like information overload. I think I don't know if that would have been as much if I had just read all these in a row, like a lot of people are doing. But seriously, for the first like 250 pages, I'm like, I don't remember who this is, and I wish he would tell me. But it's like one of those things. Like if you're reading the books, sequentially, I don't want him to re-explain everything to you every book. But there was several characters. I'm like, I have Scandalf. I have no memory of this place. That's kind of how I felt about it. So yeah, I struggled to separate the alliances, the players, the factions, the corporations, and that's before we're even getting into the power-ups and the spells and things like that. So there is a lot to take in, but it's one of those things where I feel like that stuff can completely miss you and the story kind of stays the same. That's why I've told people if the power-ups and the building the characters, like you're building a character sheet in D&D, you don't want that, so you don't have to pay attention to it. I feel like the story doesn't really change there. But I will say, my biggest criticism, yes, this book could have been shorter. Now, I said it moved very well. It did pace well for being as long as it was, but I still feel like it could have been shorter. Now, there are side quests Look, I know when you're gaming, there are lots of side quests. And I mean, as a Skyrim player who's sunk hundreds and hundreds of hours into them, I know they're impossible to resist. I've always said I don't want to read them, though. Look, it's not that the side quest in this was not entertaining. It was fine. It's just I feel like it could have been removed from this book, been about 200 pages shorter, and I don't feel like it would have changed. I felt like we spent a lot of time there where something was just like, okay, here's your funny line from the AI now. And I feel like it could have been cut, and this book could have been 500 pages or less and been just as effective. I would have enjoyed it just as much. But again, I think if you aren't into lit RPG, as I'm still very much on a knife's edge on this, I don't think this would be the one to change your mind. If you've read the first book, I don't think by the time you get to book number 5, you're just going to decide all of a sudden, hey, this is for you. I think it either is or it isn't. I feel like for myself is I could still go either way. I could never pick up another one again and probably be okay, but I want to see what happens next. I feel like that's the best part of a series usually is if you're left wanting to know what happens next, it's doing its job. So I'm still hoping to get Matt and Jeff on the channel eventually. I know that they're doing Comic-Con stuff right now. They're very, very busy. I think we might actually have found a way to get in touch with one another now. But as far as that actually happening, I don't know. I know they're very busy, and they're only going to get busier. I think they're doing a TV show now. I think they're moving over to Audible. Were they not on Audible before? Audiobook stuff. The reason I would have Jeff on the channel is because so many people talk about him, and I think it'll be fun to have both of them together. But again, we'll see how that does go. How about what am I going to read, guys? All I've got left for the month is just another chonker. So this is ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕤. This is book 3 in the Inheritance Cycle. I take the dust jacket off because I don't want my kids to find it and decide it looks really nice. I want to rip it. But I'm excited to do this. I had my problems with book number 2, but excited to go back here and see if book number 3 does kind of forge its own path. Because I've heard that this is kind of the jumping on or jumping off point for a lot of people. Is some folks that really love books 1 and 2, they kind of fall out for book 3. And there's other people who've been like, look, I was kind of barely hanging on after book 2, and book 3 and 4 drew me back in. So I'm hoping that's what happens for me. Obviously, 5 days left in the month. I doubt I'm going to get this done before the end of the month. But like I said, my last what video was that where I was talking about it? My update last week where I just said, look, I'm not going to lie, I'm probably not going to finish this before August 1st. But again, TBR police, unless they're hiding behind me here, I don't think they're going to come get me. So we'll just kind of take it as it goes and get into that when we talk about my books I'm going to read in August. And maybe I might throw a couple of shorter books in there to kind of balance the layover here into the month of August. How about this week on the channel, guys? Did a couple of things here. I did books that I DNF with no regrets. Called it Never Going Back Again. Big Fleetwood Mac fan, guys. Of course, I was going to use a title like that for something like this. And the funny thing is, I do that little singing bit at the very beginning of the video. Full disclosure, I sang about 45 seconds of that song. And then I realized, this isn't the place for that. If you guys want to hang out and go karaoke, come on down to Houston. We'll go karaoke, and you can hear me do the whole song. I'm not going to do it in the beginning of a YouTube video about DNFing books. I just thought it was an appropriate song to go with. And if you got it, you got it. And if you had never heard that song before, you're like, well, I don't even know what you're doing there. Nor do I care. But hey, that's exactly the kind of the speed that we do move at here. But what that video was really wasn't just like a DNF list. Now, I don't DNF books very often. I've got to the point where I started a DNF series more frequently if they aren't working for me. But I usually would try to chug through a book because I feel like you've made an investment at a certain point. You want to see if there's a return on it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I've also said, hey, life's too short to force yourself to finish books that you don't want to finish. The toll really did do the toll on me and make me realize this. So that's really what that video was about. Some ones that I said I DNF these, and I don't have any intention of ever going back. I like to never say never, but as of right now, yeah, it's a very silent. Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of at with those books. But lots of fun conversation in there. And I had lots of people, actually quite nice comments saying, look, I disagree on almost all these books or books that I love, but I appreciate that you can talk about them without trashing them. And I do think that there's a way to be critical of something that you just didn't care for without being a dick about it. I try to do that. So if I ever come off as that way, please let me know because I'm definitely not trying to. There is nothing in the world besides maybe music that's more subjective than reading, So do what works for you. And those did not work for me. So I did a live stream on Friday after I finished work. Something I've always been saying for years now I want to do is get back to doing live streams more frequently. So what I'm going to try for a little bit is I'm going to try to do one once a month for a while and see how that works. I've always tried to hold back from that because I always feel like I like to make them events. I like them to feel special. I don't want you guys to get bored of them, by having them multiple times a month or something like that. But I said, hey, let's try one a month. I've done one for the last 3 months, and seeing how that goes. And I love doing them because I just love talking to you guys, just a couple of hours of just AMA. I think that's a lot of fun. Some of the questions I got in the last week, this last one, we got some questions that were out there a little bit. So nothing's off limits, obviously. As long as it's not like super inappropriate, sure, we can talk about it. And there was someone there, I was like, if someone just tuned in as we're talking about this, they're probably like, well, like that Simpsons meme where Grandpa walks in and walks right back out. It's probably how they would have felt about that. But I'm glad that all the people that did stay and hang out with me. Nice way to spend a Friday afternoon. And hey, I'll see you guys in August. It should be fun. How about some next week plans, guys? Got a couple of things. I talked about my August reading plans. I've got to nail those down. Right now, besides Inheritance, there's nothing set in stone. I could go any way. I've got some potentials, but nothing I've locked down yet. So I'll have to make that decision here before I make that video. Obviously, it would be a very, very bad video if I say, hey, I'm doing Inheritance and other stuff. We'll find out. But I'll try to nail those down this week. Get those out. So if anybody wants to read along with me in August, my birthday month, I might add, the older you get, the less you look forward to the birthday month. But hey, it is a thing. And hey, very, very proud Leo. But yeah, we'll talk about that here this week and talk about what I'm reading in August. And again, I hope you guys will join me. There's a video I'm kind of noodling right now. I don't really know exactly how I'm going to do it. I've had a thing where, I appreciate when someone says, I like the way that you can be critical without being a jerk about it. That's something that I try to do. And I'm able to look at things like when I started doing my good and the bad videos, I want to say, look, I can do good and bad about a series I adore because I don't think there's any series that's perfect. There's no author that's perfect. And that's why I said, I think I have an idea. How about I do a video about my favorite authors and how every single one of them has one major flaw, one thing they do that I do not like. I think that's a fair thing to look at because, again, no one's perfect. I don't think anyone's perfect. You can find your favorite author, your favorite story, your favorite movie, your favorite album. There's always be like one thing where you say, that one thing could probably be a little better. I think that's just human nature. We're always going to look at something and say, that nothing's perfect, I don't think. Then again, you might be one of those people who every book you read is a 5-star book. So, hey, I appreciate if you can do that. That really is. But I think I can look at every author that I do truly love and say, yeah, there's one thing. And I'm not talking about personal. I'm not talking about what they do in their real life. I'm not talking about outside of writing. I'm talking about as a writer, there's one flaw, I think, that each of them might have. And we're going to kind of talk about those in the most polite way possible. But I haven't exactly completely formulated that video yet. So we'll see how that does go. That's about all I have for the books for this week, guys. Got a couple of TV and movie talk things here before I go. And one is kind of book related because it is Stephen King related. So obviously, a lot of questions in that live stream. Hey, I know you love Mike Flanagan. I know you love Stephen King. What do you think about his adaptation of Carrie that's coming out here the first week of October? Well, first of all, my problem here is this story already has a perfect adaptation. It was made in 1976 by Brian De Palma. It's very, very good. You've probably seen it with Sissy Spacek. It's very, very good. It's about as good of an adaptation as you could have of a Stephen King story. It's one of those where people always talk about how bad Stephen King movies are. That's one of the ones that's kind of behind glass. It's perfect. Leave it alone. It's really, really awesome. It's aged very well. It's 50 years old and still looks incredible. It's an incredible, incredible flick. So I don't think that this story benefits from taking 8 hours to tell the story. So 8 episodes is the plan right now. And I sure as hell don't think it benefits by moving it to modern day. What I always say about horror, why do you think they put the Conjuring universe in the 70s? Because it was easy to not have to explain away technology. I think that really, really makes stuff unfun when we've got to make a movie like this and we've got to make sure we put kids with their smartphones in it. I hate that so much. I think it completely takes me out of it and it ruins the story. Because what makes horror scary? When something happens to you and you can't prove it, right? And when you've got people that constantly got a camera in their pocket at all times, almost nothing can be surprising anymore. Hey, I think I'm being haunted. Let me get my camera out and record it so I can prove it. I don't know. You think about Carrie, it's not exactly a ghost story, so you think, okay, well, that isn't as big a deal. I think it is. Obviously, you're going to have the bullying. It's going to be social media style now, and I'm just so tired. They tried it when they did this with, what's the girl's name? Hit Girl from the Kick-Ass movie. I can't think of Chloe Moretz. Chloe Grace Moretz. Anyway, they did that movie with her, and it didn't work. I didn't like the way that they tried to do that. So I just don't think they needed to remake this another time. And what really, really frustrates me about this is that Mike Flanagan has said he doesn't think that this story would benefit from another straightforward adaptation. So why make it, Mike? There's so many great Stephen King stories out there that you could be tackling. And then on top of that, he says he wants to expand the lore, basically make a universe out of this. What have the MCU wrought that everyone has to make a universe? Now, look, I think a Stephen King shared universe would be awesome. A Carrie shared universe? I don't know if that's really what I'm going to do. He wants to kind of dive into the mythology of the telekinesis gene, which is kind of touched on in the book, as well as those newspaper clippings or news reports that they have in the book. He wants to kind of follow into those. And I'm like, look, Welcome to Derry did that pretty good. They did some pretty good things. So that stuff couldn't be awful, I don't think. This just feels like a story that's just been done to death already, and we don't need it again, especially when it's been done great. Remake some of those bad Stephen King adaptations. Or, again, make some of those like Doomakey that haven't been made yet. What he's doing after this? He's making The Mist after this. The Mist has a perfect film adaptation. It doesn't need to be done. So, I love Mike Flanagan. I think that Mike Flanagan plus Stephen King equals excellence. He gets it. But this one just doesn't feel like it needs to be made. I just don't understand it. Will I watch it? Maybe. It won't be like appointment viewing for me like Mike Flanagan stuff usually is. But, if other King fans like Jaime, he tells me that he thinks it actually turned out pretty good, sure, I'll probably check it out. I don't know. But again, Mike Flanagan plus Stephen King is hard for me to say I won't watch. It just seems very, very frustrating. Mike, you've got the rights to Dark Tower. Let's make that happen. That sounds really, really like a good idea. Another good idea was watching Masters of the Universe. Now, Masters of the Universe is an adaptation of He-Man. Something that I love, something that was pretty much my everything when I was a kid. It's like as much as I love Star Wars, He-Man was a notch above it when I was a kid. I mean, I was just that perfect age when that Saturday morning cartoon and, of course, the incredible toy line did explode, and I was right there in the middle of all of it. So I was very excited when I heard they were going to make a He-Man movie in 1989. And we know how that one went. Look, I think of that movie is like Dolph Lundgren. He looked like him. I just didn't like the fish out of water portal fantasy story. I didn't like taking it out of Eternia and putting it on Earth. I thought that Frank Langella as Skeletor was excellent. Really, really good in that movie. So there is some good behind that movie, but it was a big miss. And it was also a little too late. He-Man was kind of starting to wane in popularity by the time that movie finally got made. So when they announced they were going to make this one, I was like, well, whatever. After Master of the Universe Revelation, that Kevin Smith just took a big steaming pile of shit on the whole lore of that series, I think it really kind of dampened my excitement for anything just related to this IP. Because it's just like, let's be honest, guys. No matter where you stand on all this, a lot of boy IPs have been completely bastardized the last 10, 50 years. They have. They've really just been dragged to the mud and forgotten what it was that made us love them in the first place, us being the audience. So I think that consumer trust was so low that Masters of the Universe, this new movie that came out, which is actually a good movie I'll get to in a second, it did awful at the box office. A huge loss. Huge loss. Now, there's some people saying that Amazon doesn't care if it was a loss because they knew this was going to happen. They knew they were going to put it on Prime Video, and it was going to be huge. It's like the #1 movie in the world right now. It's the most streamed movie going on right now because it's free on Amazon. If you have Prime, and just about everybody has Prime shipping, you can watch this movie. And a lot of people are watching it, and they're just like I am. They're saying, holy shit, this is actually good. This is actually quite faithful to the source material. This is actually exciting. Holy crap. I can't believe this. I hope it gets a sequel now. Probably won't because it lost over $100 million. Probably more. I think it probably lost more than that, honestly. But yeah, the big plot twist here is I loved it. I loved the movie. I expected to hate it. I absolutely did. It was good. I had a blast. I laughed so much watching this. The trailer sold it, just like that 1989 movie where it's like, oh, great. Another fish out of water movie where He-Man's going to be in our world instead of giving us Eternia. Is this just because they don't want to spend a lot of money? I don't know. Do they want to just not be unapologetically sci-fi fantasy? No, not the case at all. Within 30 minutes, they're back to Eternia, and it is unapologetically sci-fi fantasy. We're talking lasers, we're talking colorful outfits, glowing swords, magic castles, talking animals, all the stuff that made He-Man so much fun. It's all there. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed this. And for people who are worried about this, don't. It has genuine heroism. It has over-the-top villains. And He-Man doesn't take a backseat to anybody. It's a slow build, but once he gets there, it's awesome. Teela's awesome. Man-at-Arms is awesome. I like all this cast. It was actually all really, really good. And it felt like those characters. And for some people who are saying, oh, well, I kind of feel like the costumes weren't exactly. Wait to the very end. Teela's dressed exactly like she was in the cartoon. It's so good. And she's actually a redhead. Can you believe it? So proud of you, Hollywood. You've come so far. So I think there's just so many characters that were just ripped right from the cartoon. Like Trapjaw. It's like, oh my God, he looks exactly like the cartoon. And look, I felt like it played with the character names that were kind of silly. It played with them, but never in a way that it felt like they were embarrassed, like Fisto and Ram Man. Of course, those are ridiculous names. And it does actually kind of play with that, but it never in a way where it does it where it's like, oh God, well, we're so embarrassed of this IP. Like, we can't have any of the characters wear colorful costumes. You got to put them in black leather, like they did the first X-Men movie or something because they were embarrassed of it. No, it never does that. It's campy as hell, but in a believable way. It remembers to have fun. But those serious moments were serious moments. And I feel like that's what the show was. I had a good time with it. And I am going to be straight with you guys. I know everyone hates Jared Leto. He crushes it in this. Skeletor is great in this. He really is. Still wish they went a little bit more practical with it, but it worked. It looked good. That's another thing. The special effects, the CGI in the trailer looked terrible. It's really good. It's really, really good in this, especially on a lot of the machines, the vehicles, the things that they're flying, things like that, the spaceships, all look great. Didn't have any problem with the fight choreography. Was really, really good. I had a blast with this. I felt, childhood nostalgia. In my generation, we love us some childhood nostalgia. It felt like it honored what we grew up watching. The people who did this knew what we would be looking for, and they did it. Even up to and including the PSA at the end with Orko. I mean, it was so good, man. I had so much fun, and I feel like if they would have just marketed this right, and they had consumer trust still, this could have been as big as Barbie. It really could have. I really feel like if they had really focused on what they were doing here, they could have had something really good. But again, it did really just feel, it almost felt like John Carter. Like they just didn't care what they had. And they just said, hey, we're just going to get it. And then, maybe we'll make our money back on Blu-ray sales or something. That's what they did with John Carter. And it's not a big thing now. But now I just felt like they were like, yeah, if we get people to watch it on our streaming service, hey, that's a win for us. Hopefully that's enough for us to get a sequel, guys, because I would love to get a sequel because I need Samara Weaving to be cast as She-Ra. I think she would be absolutely perfect. And it does tease She-Ra in the post-credit scene of this movie. And I think it could be very, very good. I would love to see it. But yeah, I was absolutely blown away by this. I had a great time. And highest of recommends. Highest recommends. As someone who went into it expecting not to like it, I actually did really, really enjoy it. Now look, my youngest kid fell asleep. My oldest kid was like, whatever. Maybe it's just kind of completely missed that kind of generation, I think. Also, my oldest kid's just grumpy whenever I take his iPad away for family movie night. So that might have played into it a little bit. But he knows how much it meant to me as a kid. So I think he just kind of humored me a little bit. And my youngest, well, he's hopeless. He's hopeless. He is. But guys, that was my week. I'd love to know what your week is looking like. What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you playing? Drop in the comments, guys, and let me know. And I will talk to you there.